Hello, we're back. Vegas is over with. We get to round 1B of the NRL now, but first I say we go over what happened in Las Vegas. I guess quickly we could say the
What happens
Australian.
in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yep, well, we shouldn't talk about it at all. Well, I guess the English women's don't want to talk about what happened in Vegas.
That's a terrible game,
Ugh,
unfortunately.
yikes. And then,
Could have been so much better. Anyway.
yep, and obviously Wigan beat Warrington fairly convincingly. In what was, to be fair, a fairly entertaining game,
Yeah.
I guess.
They're always a bit fast and furious.
Exactly. It's certainly a bit more unpredictable than what the NRL could throw at you.
NRL's generally just a little bit more physical, whereas, the
When the best player in the Super League is Devin French, that kind of tells you all you need to know.
yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, but we can start with the Raiders' pretty convincing win over the Warriors.
Yeah, it was in the end, and they even had a player off for 10 minutes, so
Exactly.
yeah. He
I'm
may be rubbed out for the first couple of weeks.
Yes, but he's facing a ban. I don't know if he's kept it yet, because ordinarily it'll
Even
be
if he has a guilty plea, it's 2 weeks. So if he fails, it'll be 3. So
Fortunately, Joe has that in him, doesn't he?
yeah, there's a number of players that they seem to see the old red mist come over and go, yeah, let's smash somebody.
You think
Illegally, which is bad.
it's the wrong forward that I thought would do that. How could have sworn Corey Horsburgh would be the one to do
Morgan
it?
Smithies.
What do you know?
Morse had a pretty good game, to be fair.
Incredible baseball.
I pretty much expected what happened. I didn't think it'd be as convincing as it was, but I figured that the Raiders he would win without much complication.
I took the 12.
Yeah, well, I thought the Warriors would probably give them a bit of better shape than that.
They need to sort out that halves combo.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's what's killing them. Their forwards are fine. They just don't.
Their rotations are so stupid.
Mm.
Because there is no world, I said this as the game was happening, there is no world where Jackson Ford should be playing more minutes than James Fisher-Harris.
No,
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
So I don't know what Webster is thinking, but he needs to work it out ASAP.
yeah.
On the Raiders
Were
side,
there any players? Were there any players not playing?
I think the only one you could maybe say was Tanner Boyd. I don't think he was fully healthy, but outside that, it's a pretty good, that's almost a full strength.
Well, see, my opinion on the halves, it should be Tamari Martin and Tanner Boyd. Get them in there.
Yeah, none of the guys that really.
No, they were both bad.
Right.
Neither of them actually controlled play for the Warriors. The only decent player on their side was Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, which is good because he's a great player.
Yeah, there wasn't much,
But
was there?
there wasn't a heck of a lot to jump up and down about. So my tipping was a beautiful start, 0 from 1.
But you bounced back in the next one.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
No.
That's right.
Sharks.
We made the fatal mistake of doubting the Panthers.
They were ripped off.
Why do we keep doing this?
Look, there were some interesting decisions. Without saying ripped off, there were some interesting decisions, especially that one by Klein, not to allow a challenge by the captain, indeed. So
I will give Penrith a few flowers for the fact that they lost one of their outside backs in the first 5 minutes.
yeah, that was nasty. I feel for
They
the
lost Christian McLeod almost immediately. So
Yeah,
their
his-
structure gets all messed up. But
his youngest
Penrith.
experience was like I don't remember any of it.
I'm pretty sure that's how most people leave Vegas anyway.
Well, different reasons, of course. Slightly more fun reasons.
Yeah, a very good game. I quite enjoyed watching Penrith.
It was a great game, and like I said, with a bit of luck, Cronulla could have actually snatched it, right? So it was just one of those things. So I still haven't gone off them as far as being premiership heavyweights. They're still a very strong team, and look, they can get better.
In my opinion, there is one thing holding back the Cronulla Sharks, and it's Nico Hines. He has completely lost whatever mojo he had from 2022.
They really don't have a replacement. This is the problem. They don't have a 7.
Do you put Trindle at the 7 and maybe chuck Dan Atkinson at the 6 and drop Hines entirely? Or do you drop Kennedy and put Hines at fullback? Those are going to be your two options.
Kennedy had a pretty good game. So this is the
thought he
problem.
did all right.
Yeah, this is the problem because Kennedy is a very good fullback. Right? He's always in the right place. He's always, he never drops a ball. It's like, so
One
it's
thing,
very hard to drop him.
the other thing I'll say about Cronulla is that they missed Royce Hunt. Because as soon as McInnes and Anfanua Blake went off the field, their middle was so soft. That's when they conceded a lot of their points and a lot of their meters. But when they came back on, they got right back into it. They need to figure out a rotation where you don't lose all the oomph in the middle 40.
Yeah, see, look, Hammond, well, he's great. He needs a few more minutes, I think. He's a big body that they need.
Who do you take them into away from?
Yeah.
That's the thing, because it's all the starting forwards that are doing all the good work. It's when they go off that's the issue. They need a better bench forward. And they lost two of them in the off-season with Hunt and Williams. And they just haven't found a replacement for them. So
I mean,
it's a little bit concerning, but I'm not taking too much stock in it. It's round one and he's going to be a bit rusty.
Anthony Blake was great, as he's just a good footballer. Isaiah Yeo was excellent. You know, he continues to somehow get better as he gets older, you know.
I don't understand it.
He's like the Daily Jerry Evans of boys. He's getting better with age.
Yeah. He's like, what do you call him? Like the business teacher or something.
He's an economics teacher. He's an economics teacher. He's built like one, but he just happens to be one of the best forwards in the NRL at like 32, 31 or whatever.
It's crazy, right? That try that he scored, you know.
Getting around Anthony Blake too. It's a cool moment for him.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that and then got around a few of his players and got back at it. So it's like, no, it was a great game. A good tit for tat. Look, they were rusty. There were some errors that both teams could have done without, let's face it. But overall, a good game. That was the best game of the weekend, and it wasn't particularly close.
Well, it's the only one that wasn't a complete blowout. And I guess if you're talking about Vegas as a whole, you can't plan for blowouts when you're sending teams over.
You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know what's going to. There's no way to know what's going to happen. But I just feel like it may have suffered a little bit, and they have too many games. Four is too many.
I think it was an Abdo that came out and said
they're going to drop the women's one.
The women's game disappears. It's not a disparagement on women. It's just that scoreline.
90-4 is not a good look.
It's not a good look. You don't want games like that trying to showcase the league.
I guess it showcases how good Australia is. If you're going to try
women's team, I suppose,
maybe, but it's like it's a tough.
It's like you say. New Zealand probably would have been closer. I imagine.
I don't know why they didn't send the Kiwis over.
Maybe it's not like an NRLW team over.
Maybe
an NRLW game.
An NRLW game.
Yeah,
but the issue with that becomes that the NRL season and the NRLW season
are so
far apart.
Yeah, for the first
July or something.
Maybe do a promo for the NRLW season, I guess.
Just like
Vegas.
Maybe you do single and women's origin. I know they've tried that in America before
with the Australian men's, but
maybe. That's it. I'm just trying to think. I feel like you have to incorporate the women's game somehow because it is growing at a pretty big rate.
It's fine, but it can't be like that.
No, you need.
That was really embarrassing, and it doesn't do anything for British rugby league at all.
No. Maybe you send over a couple of Polynesian teams just to show that it isn't just an Australian and England sport.
Tonga and Samoa. I mean, that would be a fun game to watch.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
but we're not paid the big bucks to decide these things, and
as I'd like to be, that's okay.
Yeah.
So overall, I'd give the Las Vegas a pass mark, but I don't think it was as good as last year.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, because I think the crowd looked poor because they only sold a couple thousand more tickets and there were 2 extra games, so it was spread out a lot more. Honestly, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of stuff I could say the NRL could do better, but we're kind of short on time right now, so maybe that'll be a rant for another day.
Yeah, we can do that another time.
Rant about it at that point. Okay, now the Australian Rugby League games. We're back. Okay, Roosters Broncos. Marky Mark and Robert Toya are the 2 centres without Billy Smith there. You've got Nafatu White is starting at prop with Victor Radley at second row and Nat Butcher is the starting lock, which I find interesting.
None of those numbers mean anything anymore.
No, and it is Trent Robinson, so he could do whatever he wants come like the 24-hour updates. There could be so much switching around. And the Broncos side, Gehmet Shibasaki gets the starting centre spot.
Okay.
Yeah, Mariner, which I find interesting.
He offers so much pace, but anyway, Gehemet's not that fast.
Another former Cowboy, Jack Gziewski, gets the starting edge role with Brendan Piakura coming off the bench. Carrigan at prop allows for Kobe Hetherington to start at lock.
Lock is, I think, not his position. I think it has.
Hetherington?
Yeah, I think it has to be
Switch around.
switch around.
He's too small to be a middle forward. Pat Carrigan has the size.
There are a couple of pretty small middle forwards. The Cowboys tend to have one. I mean, he's a pretty small middle.
McIntyre's not small. He's not.
I'm not talking about
What
McIntyre.
am I talking about? Oh, Reuben Cotter. Okay.
He's a middle forward. If you want, a lock is actually a middle forward.
Locke is almost like a second hooker these days.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of what their role is now.
But yeah, I mean, Carrigan's big enough to take the role.
I'm happy with him playing prop. I think that's fine. I think him in the middle, he has the work rate to still be very, very
It does, but it might dull some of his other.
Yeah, his ball playing might get forced a little bit to the wayside. Although, if you have Pat Carrigan and Payne Haas running at you, and you know Pat Carrigan can just chuck a short ball to the best prop in the NRL, that's pretty scary to me.
Yeah, look, Brisbane's still got a pretty good team on paper, but the problem is they had the good team on paper last year as well, and what happened? I mean, they just fell apart.
Got injured. Reynolds and Walsh were both injured at points during last year.
Yeah, but that happened to multiple teams, and we still had people at the Storm making the grand final.
Yeah,
You know.
but that's Melbourne.
I actually think Brisbane will win this game
I agree. I think it'll be a fairly convincing win. Brisbane
because the Roosters they're rebuilding at this point probably because they lost a lot of talent. I still have them, if not in the 8, close to the 8 at the end of the year, but we'll see how.
I'm thinking 30-12. I think it's going to be a pretty big win.
I think Brisbane will win pretty comfortably. However, the Roosters generally get themselves up for Brisbane games, so it should be interesting. We'll see how
we do that. Tigers Knights.
Go on,
My name
guys.
is Panthers Knights. This was a completely new look Tigers squad. You get Jerome Luai running out for his first game in a Tigers uniform. Junior Troopers there, but with Jareem Buller and Happy Coruscant out, you get Heath Mason and Talon De Silva taking their place in the spine. Well, Heath Mason played fullback a bit last year because Buller was in. Talon De Silva's been the bench utility there for a little while, so he's serviceable.
Okay.
Adam Dewey and Solomon Tape get the starting centre roles. However, I think Stafford Toa is going to be back. Is going to be there next week. I assume he takes Tape's role because Tape last year wasn't great,
And we know.
and Adam Dewey's pretty good, so you can do that. Terrell May gets starting prop to no one's surprise.
Yeah.
Alex Seyfarth gets the starting edge role, or one of the starting edge roles with what's his name leaving, John Bateman, and Alex Twal gets the starting lock role, which is interesting.
He's kind of a similar build to.
I think he's more of the classical lock, where it's just like another forward rather than a big ball.
He's always been a good player without much luck with like try scoring and stuff. He's always been very, very
He's
solid.
good.
Yeah.
I've always liked what I've seen from him. And you got Fanua Pole, who's the other starting prop, which I really like. On the Knights side, we get Fletcher Sharp and Jack Cogger, who will be the first of 78 halves combos Newcastle have this year. Frizzell gets the starting lock role, but as of that, it's basically as per program with this team. I don't know. This is a tough one to pick.
I was impressed with the Knights in the preseason, but once again, that's the preseason, right? So yeah, I think the Knights have enough, but the Tigers could surprise.
It kind of feels like a Roosters thing where it's going to take a little bit for the team to warm in, especially with people coming back from injuries and starting new pieces.
Yeah.
So I think Newcastle win in a close-ish game, I think.
Knights by 8 or something like that.
It's not going to be a blowout by any stretch. Although I still think it's entirely possible the Tigers come out and win by 16 points.
Well, we know that they can score tries.
They can score a lot of points.
It's just they can't defend them very well.
Yeah, it's very
It's
tough.
probably the most flip of the coin game of the round.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Dolphins Rabbits now being played at Conbank Stadium due to Cyclone Alfred.
Alfred.
Are you going to be scared of something named Alfred?
Alfred!
Alfred the Butler. Okay, so there's a lot to go over with these teams because there's so many injuries and moving pieces. With Jack Bostock out, Junior Tupou gets the starting wing role. After not playing very well in the trial at 6, Avarillo gets the centre spot, and Nikorima comes in with Isaiah
I
Katoa.
think that's a much better halves
I
combo.
agree. Is it Jacob or Daniel Saifidi? It's Daniel Saifidi that's got
Yes.
it on. Daniel Saifidi and Kulikefa Finifiliaki both start in the forwards. And
Kulikefu front. Oh, he's in. Right.
and you've got Tom Gilbert playing lock.
Right.
First game's captain.
Notice Kenny Bromwich named in the reserves is interesting to me. I don't know how I feel about that.
I like Kenny.
I like him, but I guess him, Ray Stone, and Mark Nichols are essentially the same player, so you can just chuck whoever you want on that bench, and they're going to do the same job. Connolly Lemuelu is also there, so I'm curious to see how the rotation goes. If it's just Finifuliaki comes off, or Gilbert comes off, and they shift Black to the 13.
That's possible.
It's an interesting.
I think Connolly is a pretty good swap for Finifuliaki.
You'd be expecting like a
Similar type
like a
thing.
55-25 split between those guys would be my guess. The Bunnies, Joe Gray gets the fullback in place of Latrell Mitchell. Lockie Hubner gets the starting lock role. Shut up. Campbell Graham's back, which is good news.
That is good. He's an excellent
He's
player.
very, very good.
Yeah.
Very happy to see him back. Jamie
Very
Humphries.
tall. Mm-hmm.
You've got Tallis Duncan on the bench, which I don't know if I agree with. I would have put him at the starting lock, but I don't know. I'm not Wayne Bennett, so you got Keon and Arrow are your two edges. Peter Martinez-Ellis is the starting hooker. Tavita Tol's back as well, which is good news. So they've got Lockie Hubner, convert from I think the Dolphins.
Right.
The Dolphins.
Came with Uncle Wayne.
So a couple of long-term injury guys back with Totola and Campbell. I like that. Revenge game for Wayne Bennett, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm predicting the Dolphins probably going to beat him.
You reckon?
Yeah. Christian Wolf is a good coach, and Wayne Bennett's a very good coach, but Wayne Bennett's got his team injured to hell and back.
Yeah, Wayne's got such a tough task.
I just think the Dolphins will have just a little bit too much, but I've been wrong plenty of times before in this tipping.
I think I have more faith in the Rabbits forward pack. Although with Gilbert and stuff returning, it's because of
He touches it up a little bit. I don't think he'll change though. He's Tom Gilbert.
I think he'll change. I just think he'll take a little bit to get warmed back into it. He'll be much better towards the middle of the year if he stays healthy.
Well, I hope he does because he's such a fun player to watch.
Rabbits by
Yeah,
close game.
I think I'm.
Simply because now it's being played in New South Wales.
Yeah, but not at Rabbit's home ground.
No, but you
It's
know,
a terrible stadium where the grass makes you flip every 5 steps.
I would prefer to play there and not in a cyclone.
Yeah, that's true. I just think that the Dolphins have a few more strike weapons on their team, so I'm going to go with them.
That's fair.
I'll go with
4-6
points.
Oh, I was gonna say that's not
No,
a score line.
No. That would be a very boring game of football.
That score line's entirely possible, in my opinion.
No, but I think the Dolphins by 4-6, so it could be something like 24-20, 24-18, something like that.
I think the Finns probably by like maybe a try or maybe like a try and conversion.
That's the same.
A try and conversion.
I'd say Rabbits 20-18.
Maybe.
I think whatever it is, it'll be relatively close. I think, but I just think the Dolphins just have a little bit more on the strike. Because Latrell's missing and all that. Yeah.
That's a fair statement to make.
And of course they do. I know you don't like Hammer, but if he gets into space, nobody's catching him. It's as simple as that, right?
Space. That's the game. That's the game plan, right? Don't give the Hammer space.
Yeah, everybody has that game plan, but he still manages to score tries.
Dragons Dogs.
Cowboys dogs.
Pretty good rivalry here.
Yes.
Dragons new recruits abound.
Lots of them.
However, my big takeaway from this is that Tyrell Sloan isn't named starting on the wing. It's Max Fiene? Matt Fiene, one of the Fiene bros, the one that's not the Dolphins, and Christian Tuipulotu. Sloan's named at 19, which is interesting.
Fullback.
Clint Gutherson.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So yeah,
I forgot about him.
Clint Gutherson, Valentine Holmes, Lockie Ilias. You've got Emery Gula, who's also all these new recruits are starting. They're all there.
It's the Cowboys
Max,
because the
yeah.
Dragons
Why are the Eels now?
Oh, that's right.
have Luke and Val.
Yeah. So the starting forward pack, you've got Toby Couchman, one of the lazy boys, and Luch and Jaden Surrey are edges, which is a pretty good combo.
back then. That's such a bad joke.
Hey, Lazy Boy's a great one, okay? Also, Tom Eisenhuth, after having a very good year last year, is also named in the reserves. Where maybe, I guess it's just Flanagan saying, hey, I need some faster legs, maybe. I don't really, yeah.
I think maybe the Dogs will probably win.
But for the Dogs, you're missing Jacob Kiraz still. It's a big loss.
Yeah.
As much as Marcelo Montoya is a good player.
Carraz was the biggest meter eater in the game, wasn't he? So,
Blake Wilson's there. So it's really Tupanua's named for his first Bulldogs game.
Which comes down to goal kicking, the Dragons are going to win because, Val Holmes doesn't miss very often. So.
True. It's a tough one.
Yeah, that's another flip of the coin. It's a bit like
I think it could be a pretty high-scoring
I
game.
think maybe the Dragons could pull it off.
I don't know. I don't know how to feel.
Anything's possible. This first round is a bit
It's going to be very strange.
Right? So, and of course, they're still going to be ironing out some of the wrinkles, So, I think the Dogs.
I think Dogs, but it's going to be like 28-24 or something.
The Dragons.
Dragons.
I think we can stop dragging them for that. That was a year ago now.
Yeah.
420.
We will never stop dragging them for that because that's what we're like.
Drag the Dragons.
Or maybe yeah.
Also for the Bulldogs, Kurt Mann's back starting at lock, which is huge for them because he's a very good player. So it helps that forward pack a bit. Sea Cowboys.
Yeah.
We'll start with the Sea first because I'm going to have a bit of a rant about the Cowboys. So Tommy Talau is unavailable, I think, with a mild foot sprain or
I
something.
think that's a big loss.
No, because you get Lehigh Hopewadi on the week. I would put him there over Tommy Talau anyway.
How sad for the Sea
Yeah, exactly. Also, Lockie Croker is still injured, so they get Jazz Tavanga starting at hooker, which pushes Jake.
That's cool. Lockie Croker is the one who scores tries all the time.
Lockie Croker's so good.
Yeah.
Takeaho walks straight into a starting spot, which I find interesting, displacing Taufafa Sipley, who's on the bench now.
Yeah, I think.
And
going to do that.
And obviously the big thing for Manly, all three of the Trebojeviches are available, so that's good for them.
You know what to get from Jake. He's not going to do very much. He'll just
Tom's
tackle bot.
Tom's going to do his hamstring in the first 2 minutes.
I don't want him to do his hamstring. I love watching him.
I don't want him to.
Great player. And
It's just predictable.
look, the Trebojeviches are a lovely family of blokes.
Trebojevic is the nicest human being.
They are one of the nicest families of footballers that you've ever seen, basically. So, he says nice things about everybody pretty much. You never hear him say bad things, right? So,
okay, Cowboys. I'll start with the positives.
Tom Duffy.
Tom Duffy. Yes. I love this.
Yes.
Give him the 7. I love it. Keep him there. If he has a bad game, don't take him out immediately. I don't care how Jake Clifford is.
They didn't do that with Clifford, right? Because he had a couple of average games after his breakout with Canberra last year.
Exactly.
They didn't throw
Chat out to back in,
did they? So,
exactly. So yeah, give him time, please, Todd Payton, give him time.
It's going to take a little bit to get a combo with Dearden, right? And then they'll be on different sides of the field, but they still need to sort of have this conversation between them. Who's getting the ball or whatever. I think Duffy is the right choice, and he can kick goals.
Exactly. I love the Tom Duffy pick. Jackson Purdue. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, I'm okay with him being there if it's because Zach Labour isn't 100% healthy yet.
So do you think Zach's a better centre than...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Simply because you watch, I think, the big thing with the Cowboys is how many meters their outside backs make. That's how they get their momentum going. Labour does that infinitely better than Jackson Purdue does. You watch him in the trial, he doesn't get any sort of close contact and gets pushed back half of his carries. Zach Labour didn't have that happen. Exactly my point.
But he's not centre by trade anyway. He's
exactly. I don't know why he's there.
We don't have...
And
who else do we put as Jackson Paulo?
Obviously starting
Paulo. I wouldn't hate Jackson Paulo. Or if Labour's healthy, put him in.
Well, they may do that. We'll see what happens when he gets to the full health.
Braden Burns.
He's serviceable.
He didn't play well.
Unfortunately, neither did the other guy who could have been there.
Put Rob Derby in, man. Come on.
Played well either.
Like he played
against the C grade team.
He was also on the end of a C grade team, mind you.
Yeah,
Lots of the times wingers are only as good as the people playing inside them. And when you have a bunch of no names inside you, it kind of you end up being a no name quality player
I
essentially.
just remind people of that when they were bagging Kyle Felt when it was mostly the guys on the inside of him going too far in. You know.
I Todd's justification was that he makes good decisions in defence on the end of the line, which is good because that left side defence has been very
It's always been average.
not great. So if he plays well defensively, I'm perfectly fine with it. If
The other one was always going to be Murray Talangi, so we know that.
Tamalolo's named in the reserves.
I don't think he's playing this
I don't think so. I don't think they need to rush him back. They have
Pick
enough.
up when he's fully fit.
They have
If
enough.
they need to, they've got Tom McKaylee, who's basically Tamalolo.
He's sitting in the reserves already.
I know.
Tamalolo. He's giant
I
Tamalolo.
think they need. I guess, but Harrison Edwards, I think, has played well enough that you can't really afford to drop.
He's
him.
not awful, right? And of course, Cullen Hess was always
Yeah,
going
exactly. It's the matter of who else do you drop to
Mm.
a Tom McKaylee, and there's really no good options.
So
So
he might get dropped when Tamalolo comes back. So
yeah, I think it might be Edwards. It won't be. It won't be Neem. That's for sure.
Yes.
and depending on Hess's form coming in, it probably won't be him.
Where did he get injured on?
They will find it hard to get rid of him because he's a crowd favourite, right? I mean, he's
Every single piece of discourse I've seen in Cowboys fandom is that they hate Cohen Hess. I very rarely see anything positive.
look, he's good for a couple of penalties. Unfortunately, he can land the ruck a bit long sometimes and do that. But he gets that mongrel happening. He's got that energy all the time when he's on the field.
And that's what they've missed the past couple of years in that forward pack after Tom Gilbert left.
Yeah.
We need someone who can do that. Cohen Hess might be that guy.
Guys can.
We can see.
Who else?
Sam McIntyre is there.
McIntyre's good.
Love him.
He's
Yep.
seriously in the
That goes without saying. Most of the spine is pretty much the same. Yeah, it's
Look, if Drinkwater has a blind, the Cowboys win. If Drinkwater has an off game,
I think
we lose. So
the Cowboys and Manly are very similar teams.
Yeah.
They are very, very similar teams with excellent spine play,
Great.
aging forward packs. Flip a coin. This game can go either way. We know what happened last time these two played against each other. It turned into a game of soccer. It was bad. Very, very
How
bad.
has his ego got hurt in that game?
he wasn't.
But
yeah, look,
Manly by 4.
I just did the Cowboys simply because they're my team,
Yeah,
and
I'd love to.
who knows? The only thing that may go against it is at Brookvale, and we know that that's pretty hard
They
place.
don't play very well at Brookvale.
I mean, in 22, they got that big comeback win.
That was good, yes, but that's 3 years ago.
Yes, it's rare, right? It doesn't happen very often.
2023 against.
The one I hated the most was last year when they couldn't kick a field goal to save themselves. It's like
That one, that
you know,
years old.
Drinkwater kicks one from 42 metres. Let's never get him to do it again.
It was almost from the sideline too.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
He was in place any number of times to take a kick, and they didn't pass it to him.
flip a coin, honestly,
Yeah.
for this game.
Listen, I think I'm going to go Cowboys mostly because of my heart rather than my head, but it should be a good game.
Let's hope so. It could be. It'd be another one that's fairly high scoring.
The guy that narrates the
Matt Nable.
yeah, him. He said, "Yeah, you don't want to miss this game."
No, it'll be pretty exciting. I reckon. Final game of the round.
Storm Eagles.
Potential to be 50-0.
Yeah,
This is
probably.
not going to be close. I've got the Eagles coming last, so if they can somehow upset the Storm, that would be
I'm gonna try and say-
crazy.
Is your big thing about Parramatta with Mitch Moses? He's not playing this week.
Mm.
They got Ronald Volkman playing
Is Justin
7.
Brown still playing?
Who the heck is Ronald Volkman?
Well, his story is a fun one because he left the Warriors, but then suffered like a huge injury in the preseason after he was signed with the Dragons. But that they voided his contract because of that. So he was just left wandering the rugby league wilderness for a year. But then Parramatta picked him up and he gets a start. So it's good to see him back in a jersey.
It's a good story.
It's not good for Parramatta.
I think Melbourne win by quite some distance.
Dylan Brown-
Remember, they don't
Brown-
lose. They don't lose anything with the fullback.
Forward pack construction is so weird to me because they've
Parramatta or the Storm?
Parramatta,
Right.
because they've got their starting props are Offhand Gowie and Paulo,
Yeah.
which fine,
Mhm.
sure, but they bring in Jack Williams, who's like a notorious middle forward and played a lot of middle minutes at Cronulla, named starting edge with Kelma Tuolungi. Like, I don't. And then their bench is just three edges. It's Matt Dury, Ryan Madison, and Charlie Geimer.
Front.
Maybe the only thing I can think they're going to do is bring Ryan Madison on and shift Jermaine Hopgood into a prop role. That's the only thing I can think, because otherwise, like, Matt Dury's not a.
He's basically a lock.
He's block, exactly. So maybe that's what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't know what Lyle's thinking here.
Dylan Brown's going in the gutter right now.
Dylan Brown. Well, he has to make a decision by what round. Is it round 8?
Yes, I think it was
About
round
what he's going to do. So I guess we'll see how well Parramatta do with that.
I want to leave Parramatta. He just
Yeah, I don't
get more money somewhere else. That's for sure.
deal. If he wanted to stay, he would have already accepted a deal.
Melbourne by $1 billion.
Yeah.
Melbourne by a lot, and
Melbourne by 38. I reckon.
Okay, I think we're going to do this. I'm just coming up with this now. We're going to do one game a week that we're going to predict could go to Golden Point.
Eagles Cowboys.
Eagles Cowboys aren't playing each other. It's Manly Cowboys.
Eagles Cowboys.
No, I think
Bulldogs and Dragons.
Bulldogs Dragons would be my pick as well.
I would go Bulldogs Dragons for that. If there's one that could go Golden Point, it's that one.
Yeah.
You could also have an argument for the Knights and the Tigers, I guess.
I
But
really see Finns Rabbits.
Finns, I guess maybe, but that would be because it's like 10-0 at full time. 10 all at full.
It's going to. I don't think it's going to be there. I think that the Dolphins will win. I don't think they'll need to go to Golden Point. There's a couple of games that they could, but I think Bulldogs Dragons is probably the most likely out of those games.
We'll check in after round 1 and see how well our rugby league four-man's analysis is forward.
One's going to be
So far, we've been great.
Hey, I got one right.
I got one right.
50% better than 0.
Exactly.
High five.
Alrighty.
The Australian women.
Anyone in their right
And
mind?
Wigan. I mean, it's not part of my tipping competition.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I think we did pretty good for time there.
Yeah, no, it was really, really
Half
good.
an hour.
I guess we will check in after round 1.
Yep.
When we get finally a full round of NRL football in Australia.
Yep.
/ New Zealand.
We will see you
Next week. See you next time.